Some moments in history arrive with the force of a thunderclap, a gunshot in a theater, a nation in mourning, and a name forever tied to tragedy. But other moments happen quietly, almost unnoticed, in the rush of ordinary life. This story begins on a train platform. It was during the Civil War when America was divided and uncertain. The country was in the middle of one of the darkest chapters it had ever faced. Families were split by loyalty, soldiers were dying by the thousands, and the future seemed impossible to predict. At a train station in Jersey City, passengers were crowding around a sleeping car, trying to board. It was busy and chaotic, the kind of scene where everyone is focused on getting where they need to go. Among the travelers was a young man on his way from New York toward Washington, D.C. He stood near the train waiting his turn when the crowd pressed in around him and the train shifted. Just enough. The movement threw him off balance. Before he could catch himself, he slipped down into the narrow space between the train car and the platform. For a terrifying moment, he was trapped. Then, suddenly, someone grabbed him by the collar. The stranger pulled hard, dragging him up and out of danger before the train could crush him. In seconds, the young man was back on the platform, shaken but alive. He turned to thank the person who had saved him, and he recognized him immediately. His rescuer was Edwin Booth, one of the most famous actors in America at the time. Edwin Booth was a celebrated performer. Audiences admired him and critics respected him. His name carried real weight in the theater world. The young man thanked him, and then life moved forward. Edwin continued performing. The young traveler continued on to Washington. The Civil War continued to consume the country. For a while, Edwin Booth may not have known the identity of the man he saved, but later he found out. A friend told him who the young man on the train platform had been, and the truth made the story almost unbelievable. The young man Edwin Booth pulled from danger was Robert Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's son. Robert would later describe the incident himself. He remembered being pressed against the train car, falling as the train moved, and being pulled back to safety by the collar of his coat. He also remembered recognizing Edwin Booth and thanking him by name. It was already a remarkable coincidence, but history was not finished with the Booth and Lincoln families. In April of 1865, the Civil War was finally nearing its end. The country was exhausted, and President Abraham Lincoln had led the nation through years of bloodshed, and now there was hope that peace might finally begin. On the night of April 14th, Lincoln went to Ford's Theater. Robert Todd Lincoln was not with him that night. During the performance, John Wilkes Booth entered the president's box and shot Abraham Lincoln. In that single act, the Booth name became tied forever to one of the most painful moments in American history. For Edwin Booth, the assassination was devastating. He supported the Union and admired Lincoln. His brother's crime horrified him. It damaged his family name, his career, and his peace of mind. But there was one fact that reportedly brought Edwin some comfort in the years that followed. Before one Booth took Abraham Lincoln from the world, another Booth had saved Abraham Lincoln's son. And that's the twist. History often tries to make people simple. A name becomes a symbol. A family becomes known for one terrible act. A moment becomes the whole story. But real life is more complicated than that. Edwin Booth could not undo what his brother did. Still, before tragedy connected their families forever, there had been another connection between them. Not in a theater or in the pages of a war story. Not in the center of history's spotlight. It happened on a crowded platform when a stranger reached out and pulled a young man back from death. And maybe that is what makes this story so haunting. Sometimes fate does not announce itself. Sometimes it moves quietly through a crowded station, reaches out a hand, saves a life, and only years later reveals just how impossible that moment really was. Thanks for listening to Twist of Fate Radio. I'm Angela Clark. Curious how fate works? Find more twists and share your own at twistoffateradio.com.